to episode 19 of Arakko Public Radio for the week of December 21st. We are the casual X-Men chat show where we chat everything happening in Marvel's mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the guy who made Santa's naughty list and Dark Web is the metaphorical coal in his stocking, my one and only Omega mutant, Keegan. This week, we're talking about X-Men Annual number 1, Wolverine 28, and Sabretooth and the Exiles number 2, before climbing into the Dark Web with Miss Marvel, Black Cat and Mary Jane, and Gold Goblin number 2. But first, we have a guest. Well, help us welcome the uncanny Ken.
Hello, hello.
So Ken is like the guy from Crossover Comics who knows the X-Men. So tell us about yourself, your X-Men journey, and your Krakoa investment. How much Krakoa are you reading, Ken?
Okay, so just to cover the Krakoa stuff first, because that's most recent. In the beginning, I kept up with every single book that was coming out, everything. I just had to know every single detail of this era. But eventually, I kind of just started phasing out of certain books. I checked out of X-Force. I checked out of Excalibur. After the Hellfire Gala, after that whole event, was when I kind of started slowly backing out of that era, because I feel like I got the gist of it.
Sure.
As for like my whole X-Men adventure, if I'm being honest, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. I was kind of an Inhuman stan before I was an X-Men stan. Because the whole thing started with Scarlet Witch. I love the Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
I loved House of M. Got into the mutants from there, but not 100% yet. I was still more into like Quicksilver and that whole situation. And I learned about Crystal. And then I got this whole Inhuman obsession from there. And eventually that phased out of my life. I was like, okay, they're cool. But then I started getting into Claremont stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this is a little bit more interesting than those guys. This is a little bit more fun. I like these people better. And from there, it just went downhill. I just went straight into that X-Men hole and got lost in that beautiful wide world.
You used a phrase there. I don't know if I've ever heard those two words put together. Inhuman stan. I don't know that there's a human being alive other than you who's ever
Right? Are
claimed
there
to do
any
that.
other Inhuman stands out there? I don't think so. Granted, I think I've been meaning to make a video on them. Some of them are pretty cool. I give respect to them for having some pretty cool characters.
No, I mean it was a valiant effort Marvel put into it before they
Oh yeah,
got the rights back. They tried to really
they
make them a
really
thing,
tried.
and
Oh, they had all new Inhumans, uncanny Inhumans. It was a lot.
so you're a little younger than Keegan and I. I'm just curious, what was your childhood experience with the X-Men?
It was definitely the movies.
Okay.
I didn't watch them when I was younger. I got into them when I was a teenager, when I started reading comics and all that. And the only thing I can remember them as a kid is that I genuinely thought that Wolverine was X-Men. I thought the movies were about Wolverine. So I guess that's why I never liked them. Because I was like, oh, I don't really like that character.
I
So
don't like that X-Man guy.
right, I don't like that X-Men guy, so I'm not going to watch that. But obviously,
That's
I got into them as a teenager, and I just binge watched all of them. That's probably the
okay.
only thing. I can't say I watched the cartoons. I can't say I watched X-Men Evolution.
I was just going to
Unfortunately,
ask you if there was even a cartoon on the air, because Evolution would have been over by the time you were that
I
right
think it
age,
was
right?
Wolverine and the X-Men with Emma
Oh,
Frost and
I just figured
Wolverine.
that was a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I never watched those. Wasn't into those cartoons.
Yeah, I've never gone
Unfortunately,
back to them either. I'm
I did
curious.
watch. I don't know if there were X-Men in it. It was a superhero squad show. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it was super
Oh.
cute, like little chibi Avengers
Oh.
characters. And I don't know
Oh,
if they had X-Men, but I did watch that as a kid.
I've seen I've never watched it, but I've definitely seen the kind of chibi characters from it.
Super
That's
cute.
awesome.
Yeah, that
Super
sounds like
X-Men.
vaguely familiar, but like just enough out of like my range of time that I like don't remember it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our Christmas episode. So are you guys up for a little Christmas trivia game?
I'm down.
Sure.
And I'm not going to pitch you against each other. You guys can work together. It's quick. I got 3 quotes, 3 X-Men Christmas related quotes. You guys get a point if you figure out the character, and a second point if you figure out where it's from. First quote: "Shut it, nerd! Before Santa Lee brings you a couple more concussions."
Blank.
Shut it, nerd, before who? What did it Santa?
Yeah, who was it?
Shut it, nerd! Before Santa Lee brings you a couple more concussions.
Santa lead.
You guys can piece this one together. I have faith in you.
Shut it. I'm having a hard time with this one.
Yeah. Me too. I feel like it's something a young X-Men would say to somebody.
It sounds like some Jubilee something.
Right.
Is it Jubilee?
It's Jubilee. Yeah, so I'll give you it. I'll give you.
And do we have to guess where it's from?
I mean, if you get an extra point if you do.
I feel like just because it's Christmas themed, I'm gonna guess it's the Generation X holiday special.
That is a really solid guess. No, it's from the Merry X-Men holiday special, which is like the annual Christmas holiday special from 2009. So.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that the one I'm reading? Because I'd be a sham if I didn't guess that.
No, it's 2009. So that was like when I was in college. So I remembered that quote. This is the only one I didn't have to look up. I knew that line. Kid, the day you catch me singing Jingle Bells is the day pigs fly.
I mean, my instinct on this is it's Wolverine.
That's 2 for 2, Keegan.
Wow, I was gonna say Deadpool.
Oh, that would have been a good guess too.
The kid of it all was I'm just like, that's Logan talking to someone.
Okay, but who is he talking to is a real question.
That's the question.
I don't remember who it was to, but I'm curious if you can guess where it's from.
So it's Wolverine.
There's even a way to get half credit on it. Like I'll give it to you if you can guess the like broadly where it's from.
Can I get a hint?
It's not a comic.
It's not a comic?
Is it from Wolverine and the X-Men?
No, it's from X-Men the animated series. Have yourself a Morlock Little Xmas is the name of the episode. And I just think it's a really funny episode name. So.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So from the cartoon, the original animated.
The original,
yeah,
from 1,000,000 years ago when you and I were children.
Right, the Stone Age, if you will.
All right, we got one last one. I can't believe Keegan might go 3 for 3 in a game. This has never happened.
This has never happened. I'm so bad at games.
Oh, I've got my list memorized. It's not done yet, but I want a choo-choo train and a football tee and a what's wrong, Santa? You don't look so good.
I'm just gonna go for a wild guess and say that's Iceman.
No.
I feel like Iceman is having a moment with Santa.
I like that.
Okay, it's not.
Are we ready for a small hint?
Is it Deadpool?
It is not.
Okay, small.
But I'm willing to give you the hint and then see if you can get it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is, as I love to do, this last question is relevant to this week's comics.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay.
It's relevant to this week's.
Relevant this week. Oh goodness. Okay.
Can you say the quote one more time?
Oh, I've got my list memorized. It's not done yet, but I want a choo-choo train and a football tee and what's wrong, Santa? You don't look so good.
Who likes football?
Oh, don't go too far down the football path.
Right, am I thinking too into it?
Okay, and it's not Deadpool. It's not Iceman. I mean, is it Beast?
Oh, that would be hilarious. No.
Yeah, right.
You guys ready?
I was like trying to cheat and be like, who's
wait, it has to do with this week's comics. I'm going to do final guess.
Think about that phrasing. Like he phrases it very childlike.
Right. No, I can't. I give up.
I see Keegan's gears turning up.
Right.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
I'm giving up on it. I'm giving up.
That is Orphan Maker from the Generation X holiday special. You named that one earlier.
Oh my gosh, you're so right. And I just read that like last week too.
I thought it was awesome when I went looking for Christmas quotes and there was one from Peter of all people.
Right. No, see, and that's the childlike part. That's what made me think of Deadpool because it just sounded silly.
And I was just thinking about Sabretooth and the Exiles. Like, who there could be in Santa's lab? And I just didn't think of Orphan.
Well, I tried going for like reading it like a child would and not like sarcastic because I didn't want you to go down the Deadpool path. But
yeah.
All right. So, what do you guys want to talk about first?
what came out this week? Wolverine, Sabretooth, and we can do the annual.
Yeah, let's start with the annual.
Annual first. Written by Steve Foxe, drawn by Andrea Vito. This is a much needed Firestar focused issue after she joined the team this summer and has mostly fallen into the background. We open in the Green Lagoon with the original Hellions beating her up for being an outsider. She's quick to point out that Beast, Wolverine, and Havoc have all been Avengers too, but she really has always been more Avenger than anything else. Outnumbered 5-1, Bobby Drake comes in for the save. He and Angie have to get to a briefing, but he freezes all of their drinks as like a quick little payback. They've got a laundry list of distress calls, but Angie's drawn to this cancer hospital in Florida that didn't get its Krakoan drugs. Cyclops decides he'll go with her to deal with that one, while the team handles the more like sci-fi problems. They get to the hospital to find out that the shipment actually did show up, but someone got in and stole it or tampered with it. As they investigate, they talk about Firestar beating her cancer, and she asks Cyclops if he ever considered having his optic blasts fixed via the resurrection protocols. He assures her, never even considered it. Suddenly, the storm outside ramps up to hurricane winds, and Cyclops sends her outside while he gets the patients to the safe rooms. We see the rest of the team separately taking down Bybeast and Harrower, the lady from Deadpool, while bantering. And by the time we get back to Florida, Firestar is in a full-on showdown with Whirlwind, coincidentally the same B-level villain she and Justice defeated to originally get on the Avengers. While she has her showdown, the team stops Brainchild from unleashing the beasts of the Savage Land in Brooklyn with an assist from Miles Morales. Jean checks in with Cyclops, who assures her Firestar has things under control, though he does do a quick blast to help her slow Whirlwind down. In the Mojoverse, the team takes on a new batch of X-Babies. This time, they're zombies. Firestar unleashes the full might of her powers to take down Whirlwind, who reveals not only was he there to carry out a hired hit on a cancer patient, but he left a bomb in her body. Cyclops frantically calls for Jean to send any teleporters and psychics, while Firestar rushes for the morgue, which just happens to be right next to the hurricane shelter. She gets to it just in time to deactivate the bomb, and the team finishes the day by bonding over taking down some junkyard sentinels bought by backwater militias. Returning to the Green Lagoon, she confronts the Hellions and admits she's got plenty to prove, but that she's ready to do it. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a fun annual.
Enjoyable. Yeah.
Zombie X-Babies. I feel like you gotta talk about the Zombie X-Babies first, right?
Oh, 100%. Those were adorable. And Mojo admitting that he was wrong in rebooting the X-Babies was hilarious.
A fun, like, thing it dawned on me about the X-Babies in general, they were originally, like, a self-parody they did to make fun of the fact that the X-Men brand had expanded too fast. And at the time the X-Babies first showed up, they had 4 total books. So it was really funny to me that like they were making fun of the X line being too expanded. And I feel like we have at least 4 every week now. Like it's rare we have less than 4 books a week, let alone 4 in the entire line.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that it was also the reference of like, oh, this is an old X-Men team too of X-Babies.
Right.
Why are they always this team?
And also, did Havoc never meet his X-Baby? Or did he never have an X-Baby? It was just a giant-sized team, right?
So I know that Havoc saw his baby form in like the hologram of the Mojoverse, but I think that was it.
That was it.
Well, he was definitely freaked out. So he at least had never met, and I don't remember ever seeing an X-Baby, a Havoc, but who knows? They've been around a few times, so we could have had a Havoc. But it was his first time coming face to face, and I feel like I'd have a similar reaction to even with all the absurd shit they've already seen. I still feel like if I ran into a baby version of myself, I'd freak the hell out.
I'd be freaked out 100%. Why are you here?
So do we think we could sustain an X-Baby zombie spinoff? Because I want it.
Yes, please. Halloween special X zombie babies.
Yeah, even just a one shot. I will take it.
All the way.
I guess because the new Hellions are completely disbanded. The originals get sole rights to the name.
Right, they got the name back.
They got the name back. Good for them, I guess.
Which, just there goes all hope for Hellions Volume 2 or Volume whichever with Zeb Wells again. But,
yeah, I think it would be 3, right? Yeah, I think it would just be the 3rd volume. Maybe 4. I don't remember if there's ever been a first reboot. Exactly. I loved that scene. I thought it was really cool having her confronted by people she had history with. I kind of think their complaint is bullshit. Like, when you think about the huge range of non-traditionally involved mutants who all have just made a home on Krakoa, like, I don't know why her showing up, having been an Avenger quite a bit, like, is she really that much less involved than half of the people that were living with the New Mutants? Like, all those kids are, and the villains that have moved in.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure either. I was just kind of like, really, just because she's Avenger, hasn't that been like half of the X-Men at this point?
Actually, Havoc is straight up led an Avengers team, because Uncanny Avengers was him like leading the. I guess it was half Avengers, half X-Men, but like, he's been way more involved over the last few years than Firestar has. So it just seems like an unfair double standard to be that upset with her. But
for sure.
Led to good character work.
I almost felt like they were a little bit jealous, like they, that the Hellions have been completely ignored this entire time. Their name was stolen, and it kind of felt like they were just taking it out on her for a hot second.
I think that's 100% it. So I have a proposal, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts on it. We're going to talk later about New Mutants having a stopgap when it eventually comes back as an actual ongoing series. How about Steve Foxe as the writer? I feel like the type of character work he did here would totally fit what we've seen lately from New Mutants.
I think that's fair. I could see it. I'd want to see more of like how Steve Foxe can do with more marginalized voices.
That's fair.
Just because of what the New Mutants are.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, I like what Foxe did here, so I could see it working.
Oh yeah, and especially with like Escapade and these all new characters, it gives them a whole like chance to really build these characters up.
Yeah, I was thinking from the playbox aspect that it's a lot of characters that don't have a lot of weight, or not weight, a lot of baggage to them yet. So that
exactly.
would be a fun.
So he has this opportunity to do exactly whatever he wants.
Yeah.
You make a good point though, Keegan. I don't actually know. I assume Steve Foxe is a cis white guy, so maybe that's the wrong choice. I'm not. I don't know enough about him. That's a good call.
It's hard to know, but I mean, I think even if he is cis white straight guy, like if he's respectful about it and like all that, is careful and all that, I would be fine with it. But
since we brought up cis straight white guys, Bobby and the Bibies jokes, like had me.
Yeah.
But he also was like a really cool protective big brother through this. Like, I loved that like relationship with him and Firestar.
Yeah.
It's the second week in a row we got some kind of reference to Amazing and his Spidey friends. No.
Yeah, they're really digging into that.
It makes me want, and maybe it's just because I want Spidey away from Zeb Wells, but I feel like that these guys would make a good book. Give us a book about these three. Have them together for some reason, even though we were just told last week Spidey doesn't want that.
Well, and I found this reference more fun than the one last week. Like,
because it wasn't hateful.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't them just saying, "I don't like you. I don't want to hang out with you." It was
right. This one was nicer, but I wouldn't mind that. Have they had a book officially together, all three of them?
I don't think so. I don't
think one shots and.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever actually been together in comics other than references to the show.
Right, exactly.
I think that would be really fun.
Oh yeah, to definitely dig into their past.
It'd even be fun for that to be like an Exterminators style book where they just like 4 super, just like go into the style.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We've talked about how Exterminator should be like that creative team should do it again with other groups of characters. That's a great idea.
It's like an anthology series following different groups. That'd be awesome.
I love that.
There is one thing I want to note from this annual. It's Blob. I have so much respect for Blob for being one of those villains in the Krakoa era who have not relapsed into villainy and has only ever been this amazing barkeep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You never hear about Blob getting in trouble or going back. Like Toad is over here again with Sabretooth, and all these other characters are doing something, but Blob, he cares about his bar.
Blob's just vibing with his Hawaiian shirt in the bar, like I'm like, yeah, man. If I was a mutant, that'd probably be my job.
Yeah, right. And I love that. Love that for him.
We're talking spin-offs. Give me Cheers. Give me Cheers to the Green Lagoon.
Yes.
How much fun would a sitcom just following the bar antics be?
Oh yeah.
And again, soft serve working the like dessert side of the bar. I'm sold.
I didn't know that character existed until I saw your post today, and I was
Really?
like, what?
Okay,
There's a
so
character that grabs ice cream.
not to completely derail the conversation, but after you saw my video, did you look up the backstory at all? Because it's a great lineage of events.
I felt like I learned enough from you that
Okay.
I think I got the
So-
gist.
So he created him in high school. Like it was apparently just like he had notebooks of characters he designed, and he was the artist on Way of X. It was the first Icebreaker Krakoa book. So yeah, I think it was Way of X.
Yeah,
And he drew her in as a background character, just in that one panel I showed, and had just said a tweet of like, I love getting to sneak in these Easter eggs. But then Jerry Dugan last year made her canon by including her in a data page where
Like,
Forge was like sending a report to Cyclops, and he mentions like, did you know one of these kids can make ice cream and it's actually really delicious? Like you should check it out. And then I guess since then she's been in the background in multiple books. A couple weeks
so
ago,
funny.
The Last Knights of X. There's that big 2-page splash page. She's apparently in the background of that, and she's been in the background of other stuff. And so she's just legit one of the X-Men now, and it's all just a joke he made in high school in a notebook. So I love it.
Yeah, I want her in a book.
Back to X-Men Annual number 1, though. I would love if we could have the X-Men book do more of this. Like, it shouldn't have to just be the annuals where we can slow down, not be tied into one of the million X crossovers, and get this character work. Like, this was really awesome. And it felt like it kind of rubbed the salt in the wound, though, that we've had her on the team for 6 months and she hasn't done shit. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much they can dive into here, and we just saw it.
Yeah, and we're running out of time. Aren't we changing in the Hellfire Gala again this year?
Yeah, we're past the halfway mark, so.
Yeah.
Also, is Harrower just a thing now?
I guess Harrower's just a thing.
Because she's just Poison Ivy. Like, we all have to be honest with ourselves.
Ivy, right?
She's just Poison Ivy.
I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, I guess we're having this Poison Ivy. And she's new, right? She hasn't been around in like long.
No, she was created by Steve Orlando in, was it Children of the Atom? It was one of the recent minis. I think it was Children of the Atom.
Children of the Atom I never picked up.
Yeah, and then Deadpool was just her second appearance. So this is like appearance number 3. What I didn't have click until this issue, do you remember in Deadpool, I think it was the second one, they reference her grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, do you remember the horticulture, like, terrorists from Hickman's run, the old ladies?
Yeah.
One of those ladies is the grandma. So it's all, I don't know why that never clicked with me, but yeah. So.
Okay.
Wow.
So when Doc Ock's like, "Oh, aren't you Agatha's granddaughter?" Like, that's the Agatha is the like ringleader of the horticulture.
Oh, okay.
It was nice to have that finally click after.
Yeah, I appreciate her a lot more now.
Keeping it in the family business.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts on the X-Men Annual?
It just really made me appreciate Firestar a lot more. I was never a Firestar, guy. Like, previously when she was on the team, I wasn't too excited about it. Amazing X-Men, she did not want to be there. So it's like,
I forgot about Amazing X-Men. Yeah.
It just gave me a lot more appreciation for her. 100%.
It definitely won me over for her being on the team. Absolutely.
Whirlwind mentions like the nuke in the island, and Cyclops is like, what is that about? And I thought that might have been a plot thread for something in the future or something that he was going to do, but it didn't get followed up. So I didn't know what that was about.
Or was it the nuke that Druig threw at Krakoa for Axe? I don't remember.
Oh,
possible.
Yeah, it might have been referencing the attack.
Yeah,
from
you're right.
Maybe
possibly just talking about that.
I think that's how I read it, but I could be wrong.
Just because
I am.
Cyclops was like, what is he talking about? Is what really threw me off. And I was like, is he planning something? Is he working with somebody? But like I said, it never got followed up, so I just threw it off. I was like, okay, well, he was just saying stuff.
I do think it was interesting. Both the Hellions and Whirlwind really drilled home that like uh, I don't think you want to be here, like, and that there is this contingent of mutants who want to be. They see more safety in hiding the fact that they are a mutant than joining the mutant nation, and I do think that's a thread that there's no way they would have hit it that hard here and not follow up at some point. So it'll be interesting heading into Fall of X,
Right.
seeing how big is this group of mutants that would rather pretend they're not mutant than help defend mutant kind.
Right.
It's
Then
an
join.
interesting.
Yeah.
Facts. We don't have to end in rage.
Written by Benjamin Percy and drawn by Juan Jose Reap. This apparently comes before the most recent X Force issue, so Beast is still free. It opens with Beast bringing Wolverine food, and we see the collar he put on him basically just shuts down all complex thoughts in his brain. We see Beast take him to a general's house and set him up to assassinate, but Wolverine runs into the house as soon as he has the man sent, while Beast is still setting up a program to kill the security system. This means cameras see him sneak in, kill the general by sticking his claws through a door and then through the dude's skull. In a data page, we see how the conversation went when Beast and between Beast and Hope when he announced his intentions to use the slave collar, and she basically just goes full Valley Girl and repeatedly goes, "Whatever, okay, whatever." After the botched assassination, we see Beast punish Wolverine by shocking him relentlessly with the collar. And when Wolverine bites Beast's thumb, he basically leaves him in the dark to suffer in his loneliness. The island helps him by like opening a keyhole so he could watch Beast and Sage talk about the incident, where Beast claims it was a deep fake. Sage seems incredulous while the island opens a passage for Wolverine to leave. Beast then also gives a speech to Congress and accuses it of being a deep fake and a deep state conspiracy. Once free, Wolverine finds a mutant boy drowning in a river and saves him. Somehow, the local kids think he's a monster despite being one of the most famous men on the planet. The issue ends with Krakoa seemingly banishing Wolverine to the pit on its own. I am fucking livid about how this book portrays Hope. I cannot get past that it's nothing. It doesn't match with anything she's doing in any of the other books. Like we see her as this suspicious of everyone. Like she's pushing back on Xavier. She's pushing back on everything. And Beast tells her, "Hey, you have to keep this a secret." And she just whatever's him makes no sense to me. I
Right.
cannot get over it at all.
So lenient.
Yeah,
And when everyone they're making a point that they say Beast is not a great person, and if you're just letting him go like this, what is happening here? What is going on here?
yeah, the amount of people that like very openly reference that Beast is an asshole now, and then
Exactly.
for her to just be that way, it just what?
Yeah.
Well, and when he basically tells her like, "And you keep Gene off my tail," like, shouldn't that be red flag number one? Like,
Yeah.
just oh, I couldn't really get past that. So like, I'm sure there was things to enjoy here, like there's been with the last few Percy issues, where I'm like, oh, like it's winning me back a little, but I just could not get past
Yeah, that was
fucking
probably the
data
most jarring
page.
part of this whole book. As much as I've been enjoying his so far what I've been reading Wolverine, that part was a little bit
I
weird.
just, ugh. I kind of liked the like deep states, like just seeing him be like a full on Trump
Yeah,
analogy was pretty hilarious. Like,
Oh yeah.
they're really leaning into that side of it.
Mhm.
like the fact that Marvel's straight up letting people call him a fascist, like I don't know. I'm surprised Marvel's letting Percy push it as dark as he is and as political as he is. Like I feel like for all the complaints people have about how woke comics are and how political they are, I don't know if I've ever seen them get like this overt. Like this
Right.
is
This far
pretty
into it. Yeah.
I mean, if there's a group to do it with, it's definitely the
the deep.
X-Men.
Yeah, that's
Like, I feel like the X-Men have always existed in that. I mean, comics, of course, inherently are political, but um, I feel like the X-Men specifically have always been strongly that and
yeah.
openly that. So,
Right. At the center point, if anything.
mhm.
Well, no, I mean that's why so many kids are able to identify with it. Is it's always been a metaphor for the ostracized, whether that was based on race or gender identity or like it's the metaphor has changed over the.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm just still living about the hope stuff. I just can't get past it.
It's just so infuriating because it's one of those things that it doesn't make any sense, and the fact that like, yes, the data pages are important, but to have that moment just be on a data page and then not referenced outside of that is very weird to me.
Do you want my theory? My theory is it originally wasn't going to be addressed, and there was so much backlash from the last issue where he put the collar on, and like we spent 10 minutes on this show complaining about it. Why the hell is Hope just letting this happen?
Right.
That I don't, because there wouldn't have been time to draw a page, but there's plenty of time to insert a data page. I think in the last month that was inserted because they thought that would fix it, but I think it made it worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but even in that same thing, it's not even. It wasn't just Hope. It was Eva Bell. She was there, and whoever else was present, and no one is saying anything to nobody. No one is saying nothing to nobody. It's how much control does Beast have over people that they're not even speaking about it?
Yeah, does Beast have dirt on Hope? Is that what it comes down to? Like,
ooh,
at the end of the like, if they want me to believe that Hope is just gonna say whatever to Beast enslaving someone essentially, and not even allowing them to have like their personality downloaded back into their body, then like there better be some really really bad dirt that Beast has on Hope.
100%.
Well, and like Kendra said, everyone in the room, because we know at the whole five is there when people are resurrected. So you got a lot of explaining to do that they don't bother to do,
and they probably won't at all.
They won't bother. The art slays it in this book.
Yeah,
like the actual scene of the assassination is gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my notes that I have. This art, it's kind of creepy, but it's like perfect for this new arc.
Yeah, it fits it so well.
And it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you guys have read it, The Ice Cream Man. I don't know what about it, just 100% gives me that vibe.
I can see that. I do. I love Ice Cream Man. If we ever do like an indie corner in here, we'll talk Ice Cream Man.
Amazing book.
It's a fantastic book. What else happened in here?
And Beast, scarier than ever, by the way.
Oh yeah,
scary. There was like pure jump scares in this issue.
Yeah.
You're reading Immortal, right?
Yes.
I love that reference in the last one, the Dark Beast head, and he's like, "You'd hate it. You're not the darkest beast anymore," because it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I'm still just having such a hard time with this characterization of Hank. Like, it's really bothering me.
It's so jarring.
When I hate to go back to it every time we talk about it, but I don't see the way back. Like, there's no path from this back to friendly Hank without like a whole lot of pulling some threads back.
Still 100% on our Dark Beast theory. Now that I know Sinister has the head of at least Dark Beast, I know he has some kind of DNA, some kind of sample that he could have done something, merged them or something. I just can't believe this is Hank. I will not accept it.
Well, and I've actually just been rereading from the Dark Reign era when Norman made his Dark X-Men team and Dark Beast was on the team, and there is definitely some characterization pulled from that. Like you can tell Percy is using some of the same language. So whether it's some dark permutation with Dark Beast infused or just another evil doppelganger, I think you're right. I think there's got to be something going on. And I also think that's the only way you ever get back to friendly Beast. So
right.
I was going to switch over and talk about Sage a little bit because I know the timeline gets confusing because this takes place before the X-Force issue we read. But she comes across kind of coherent here for being as knockout, drug out, alcoholic that we see
100%
over
on
in
Hank's
X-Force.
She's on her, 100% here.
Functional alcoholics, like they have those moments of cogency, so it makes sense. But it definitely... I feel like if the trades put these issues like in sequential order, it'll be very staggering to see her go from unable to stay awake to work the cameras to the point where she's straight up in Beast's face like that. Seems like a pretty big swing to me.
True.
And I did check out of X-Force for a while. So how long has Sage been dealing with this?
About 6 months. I want to say towards the beginning of Judgment Day, they started hinting at her being an alcohol. Like they'd show her hanging out too long at the lagoon, but the last maybe 3 or 4 issues, like she's been to the point where she was passing out. The only person that's kind of keeping an eye on her and helping protect her, ironically, is Omega Red, which is pretty interesting. I was just saying 2 issues ago, she straight up passed out while Domino was asking for an extraction, and Domino
Right, I did read that one.
got almost killed because she was
Mm,
straight up passed out. I would say that's probably what Percy's doing the best. Like I'm really invested in Sage and hoping she gets a recovery, and I'm enjoying that stuff. The Beast, I'm get hot and cold on. I'm kind of with Keegan that I don't like him being as dark as he is. But then on the other hand, some of the shit he does is pretty like
right,
badass in the I can't believe they went there kind of way.
right. And
Mhm.
it's like I made a video on Beast, and I was laughing, but not in a way that it's like the situations are funny. It's just funny that I never thought I'd be saying Hank is a war criminal in like
Yeah.
one
Right.
sentence. It's like that's
Yep.
not something I should be saying or should ever be said.
No, like
Absolutely.
it ends up feeling like, those joke memes, and like the Brian David Gilbert made about how like Mario is a war criminal because the Koopas are actually civilians. Like
Hmm.
that whole thing. Like it feels like something that you would come across if you went to that level of analysis on something, not
Hmm.
just like the explicit text of the book right now.
Right.
So the Wolverine scene where he finds the mutant boy is like a parallel to an earlier issue of Wolverine where Omega Red also saved a kid and was
Mm.
like, "Oh, you're a monster." I I said it in my summary. Wolverine is possibly the most famous of the X-Men, right? Like among even civilians, let alone mutants living on Krakoa.
Hmm.
Why are these kids confused?
Why are these kids freaking out? Calling
Like
him a
what the fuck are they
monster.
scared
M-
of?
Maybe because he's feral. Like
That's what I was
that's
thinking
the
as
He's
well.
got some extra
only.
hair.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
He's
only thing I
growling,
can
he's
get
screaming.
to.
I think they have like a sound effect that he's screaming on there, so maybe they were freaked out or something.
Because I want to say it was just someone pointed out when we had him on that like the whole reason no one's worrying about Wolverine is that he's always feral, right? Like he's always like that's just what he does. Is he goes and becomes wilderness man and gets gets
That is
grizzled as
very true.
hell. So I don't know. I that was another one that just stretched my ability to suspend belief that
Yeah.
these kids wouldn't recognize him because he's wearing a collar and acting
Right. And
extra
there's like
deranged.
panels in House of X and Powers of X where they're on like this pedestal amongst all the people, and you're telling me they never saw him up
Yeah.
there or anything like that? That they're calling him a
Right.
monster.
uh, we all are in agreement. Krakoa is definitely not actually putting him in the pit, right? Like they put it on the cover. They made it really seem like it, but I don't understand why the island would set him free and then let him go save a kid and then punish him. So
I feel like Krakoa is pitting him to like save him or
yeah,
something,
That's
like
what I
in
was
an
thinking.
aid kind of way.
In a separate, not in the pit itself, but maybe in some other, like another, like a sub part of it or something like that, in order to heal him or get him back to where he used to be.
well, that's we don't I like. It's not a power set we've seen of the island by any means, but like and we've seen it force visions on people. So maybe it's got a method to restore the memories that Beast couldn't. Like I just don't see. There's no way Krakoa would actually be working against him. Like I feel like that is totally them attempting to mislead us, but
Hmm.
it's not very effective. I'm not tricked.
No,
I'm not falling for it.
Right.
I feel like if anything, like the like dreams, visions, things might even be Krakoa trying to like speed run a personality of Logan kind of thing into
Mhm.
him.
That could be. I can
But
see
even
that.
then, Kokoroa's thing is that it needs to absorb like mutant energy, right? So I feel like it'd be possible maybe it could disperse some of that energy in that little pit. Maybe well, like get Wolverine back to where he needs to be. Maybe do something that the Five didn't do when he was like being resurrected. That's
Yeah,
just what I'm thinking in my head what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the route.
Right.
I do. I that does make me just because we're talking Pit here, and we know the Sins of Sinister stuff that the Immortal X-Men is leading into it. I feel like timeline wise, there's no way this is all happening the same time as everything else in Krakoa either. Like, I don't know. It just feels like this is so disconnected from everything, not just the characterizations, but also just plot wise. There's no way Beast is doing all of his dark shit at the same time as everything else is happening. But
Right.
But yet at the same time, like Sinister is fully saying, like, hey, you're not the darkest beast anymore, floating dark beast
Right.
head. So like it's gotta be close.
Right. If
I'm just
Sinister
being a
knows about it,
pessimist.
you're right.
Anybody have any final thoughts on Wolverine before we jump over to Sabretooth? Sabretooth and the Exiles #2, written by Victor LaValle and drawn by Leonard Kirk. Last issue ended with Sabretooth saving the rest of the team after Dr. Barrington and her creation abducted Orphan Maker. Apparently, between that issue and this one, Necra attacked Sabretooth. Understandable, after he abandoned them in the first miniseries a few months ago after torturing them in the pit. They notice he isn't healing anymore. We see Dr. Barrington pitching the Barrington Coil to her mysterious boss, GC. She explains that it can nullify any mutant powers and that it would be of great interest to Orcus. He tells her to come back when she has more definitive evidence and hangs up on her, which makes her mad because she really wanted to talk about having, kidnapped Orphan Maker. Back on the ship, the nanny explains Peter's history and how Mr. Sinister created him to be a doomsday weapon, but he ended up too powerful for Sinister. She describes it as extinction level, and so he tried to kill the boy. Of course, Nanny couldn't allow it, and she figured out the containment suit solution for him. Of course, if the armor is removed, he could wipe out the entire planet. So they all had to hustle to Station 2, which they found conveniently via Third Eye's powers. Orphan Maker, meanwhile, is explaining to Dr. Barrington that his armor's impenetrable. There's only one way to remove it, and that's if he chooses to take it off. So, of course, hearing that, she immediately sets out to manipulate him into taking it off. As the team works through the station, they find mutant prisoners and debate how to free them. When Barrington's creation comes crashing through a wall, they have a really short brawl. But surprisingly, she's not looking for a fight. She's running away from Orphan Maker. He stumbles out. He has started to remove his helmet and apparently killed or severely injured Dr. Barrington. Sabretooth suggests they all run away, but Nanny insists they stay and help Peter. Third Eye offers an easy solution. He takes them all to the astral plane. This book is so good.
Yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
book.
I really, really enjoy this book.
Yeah, my favorite book out of this week, 100%.
Oh yeah, book of the week. Not even just out of X-Men. This was my book of the week period. I had so much fun with this. I just want to reiterate. I said it last time we read an issue of this series. Dr. Barrington's boss, this GC, Graydon Creed. It's the son. It is Sabretooth's kid, and like we saw him in silhouette this time, and it totally fits. He's big enough. He's got the right look.
Yeah, I think you called it.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the reveal.
But they did some character stuff here that was really interesting. Like Sabretooth, like realizing he has to rely on his reputation while he realizes that they know he's not at his full powers. So like the way his charisma plays out is kind of a side of him I don't know if we've ever seen before. Like he sells his toughness while fully aware that everyone in the room knows he's not as tough as he usually is. It was a really cool scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I love that scene where I think her name is the Oya character.
Yeah,
she calls him out and she's like, "We all know you're not healing," and he just accepts it. And the Sabretooth in this whole issue, I've never really been much of a Sabretooth guy. I just always see him as like this savage character. I'm not really into those type of characters. But him
he's Wolverine without the personality.
Right, exactly. But in Sabretooth and here so far, he's becoming this whole new personality that I'm thoroughly enjoying compared to what I've seen before.
I really wish this was just an ongoing Sabretooth series. I wish we weren't just getting a couple minis from it.
And that's the thing is like when you pair this with the first mini, like it's just so much good work with Sabretooth. I'm just like finally really, really enjoying it. Like it's cool.
As much as I loved the first one, I didn't know how this one would turn out because the first one had that extra sales pitch to it because it was the what does Krakoan hell look like? Like what is hell for mutants? And this one kind of lost extra oomph to it, but it hasn't missed a beat. This has been 2 issues of really, really interesting stuff already.
I mean, it's really impressive that they took essentially a team of characters that I don't care about any of them. And now I'm like, hey, this was the best book this week.
Right. And they're probably, one of the best teams outside of Krakoa right now.
Yeah.
Let's make these guys the X-Force.
Yeah.
Drop Percy's line, and you guys will make a good X-Force.
Yeah, I mean, they would make a great like special forces strike team with their power set. So why not?
Right.
Speaking of their power sets, Orphan Maker can literally just wipe out humanity by leaving his suit of armor that he apparently can just at will leave. And he's got the mental age of a child. He died in X of Swords. Why hasn't he been nerfed? Like, for all the like tampering we've seen Xavier do, like, isn't it kind of insane that he got to be revived at full power?
Right.
Yeah,
But do they know that he has that kind of power? I feel like that's such something that people who are within his vicinity hear about. But
that
outside
might
of
be
that,
like,
That's possible.
does anybody know?
might be like a nanny secret kind of thing.
Right.
But she's kept it a secret all that time. I could buy that.
Right.
I would say that's bad on Xavier of all the things for him not to notice as he's going.
That's one thing he probably should have noticed. Do we have any theories on what his ability is?
I think it's interesting they didn't show us her with her wounds, because like, does she have, like, I could see it just being like generic like radiation poisoning, so she's all burned or scarred or something.
That's
but
what
I
I
hope
was
it's something. I'm hoping it's something more interesting than that. Like,
Yeah.
Like, it is Orphan Maker the Ark of the Covenant?
yeah. She comes out with just half her face melted off. I did like that. I wish we got a real name for it. That the creation thought she was dead, and Peter had to be like, no, she's alive. Like, that does make it sound like whatever we're gonna see is gonna be mangled as fuck.
It's gonna be bad.
Destroyed.
Disformed 100%.
I'm in for any astral plane hijinks.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Like, it's been awesome when we see it over in Legion, and it's gonna be awesome when we see it here. I'm so in for it. And I think Leonard Kirk's gonna have some real flair drawing it, just from the way he drew Hell and the way he draws other stuff. I think it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. It's gonna be a cool playground for this group. Like, just, I'm excited.
Yeah. But which characters went? Did everybody go into the astral plane? Like, even like Orphan Maker included, or was it just
based on the art? I don't remember if I saw Orphan Maker, but I mean, it was everybody. Like, he was taking the prisoners too. Like, it was just they were moving everybody away essentially, but all the bodies stay. So I would think they're still getting radiation poisoned.
Right. That's what I was. That's so confused me. I was like, are they still gonna possibly blow up or something?
Right. Well, yeah, because I know, like, because what was it? He said, Third Eye was saying, like, I've never moved this many people at once. So I'm assuming.
I'm checking the issue now to see if we specifically see him or not.
And that's another thing. Power sets. It's a big set of characters. I'm still trying to remember power sets. So Third Eye can astral project. That's his thing. Right.
Well, he's got a lot of stuff he can do though, because he's also the one that can basically predict where the bases are. Like, he can see everything. I guess I don't remember how they specifically phrase it, but yeah, his third eye has the ability to see a lot of
and
things.
I know there was the one that was he can speak with the machines and the wiring and stuff like that. I forgot which mutant that was. I forgot his name.
I got him up here,
and he was saying, like, he'll ask the machine. He's not going to make.
Well, ask the machine. Yes, he won't.
That's
tell
Madison Jeffries is
the
machine guy. And then there's Melter, who I loved every time he got confused for.
Yes. Melter, Necra, and Oya. That's all of them, I think.
And I think you're right. So in the art, yeah, we got Orphan Maker there. So yeah, it's everybody, including him. I guess we only see the team going. We don't see any of the prisoners. But the way he says, "I've never moved this many," I still think, like, I just can't imagine they're abandoning all the mutant prisoners. But
right.
Well, because he's moved the team a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume there'd be more now, just because of that statement. But who knows?
Well, based off the conversations earlier, I just don't imagine them just abandoning them at this point. But All right. Any further thoughts on Sabretooth before I invite you into my dark web?
Great book. I can't wait for next issue. It's gonna be awesome.
Same. Yeah, it's definitely one that I look forward to every single time.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go into the dark web.
All right. We don't have to talk for very long because none of these had jack shit to do with the X-Men.
Yeah.
So we had 3 books come out this week. We had Mary Jane and Black Cat #1 by Jed Mackey and Michael Dowling, Dark Web Miss Marvel #1 by Sabir Pirzada and Francesco Mortarino, and Gold Goblin #2 by Christopher Cantwell and Lan Medina. So in Dark Web Miss Marvel gets drawn into limbo to fight the forces of whatever, Maddie's and Ben's machinations. In Mary Jane and Black Cat #1, Mary Jane and Black Cat get sucked into limbo to fight machinations. Gold Goblin #2 is kind of got nothing to do with Dark Web, I feel like, and instead is uh, Norman Osborn facing the Queen Goblin, not the Goblin Queen, who is the woman who has the Sin Eater has given all of his sins to. Kind of a bold choice to involve the Queen Goblin in a story about or in a crossover about the Goblin Queen and expect casuals to be able to keep up, but
Yeah, I mean,
that book existed.
I literally texted Rod today, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to make sure Goblin Queen and Queen Goblin are different, right?"
I don't understand why they had to stick the Dark Web label on, like, because the Gold Goblin book is a 5-issue miniseries, and 2 of them are Dark Web tie-ins, and I don't know. I don't know why they do that.
Right.
But I instead would love to talk about how much I actually really liked the Mary Jane and Black Cat book. I thought that was a really, really masterclass in taking what Wells has done to Jed Mackey's awesome work on Felicia. Because I don't know if either of you read his Black Cat run, but it was fantastic. And he took her from a Peter love interest and really made her this amazing standout character on her own. And then as soon as we relaunched this most recent Amazing Spider-Man volume, like all of that was regressed, and she's Peter's girlfriend now. But this issue did a really good job of kind of peeling back some of that and kind of salvaging the relationship between Mary Jane and Felicia that we saw Felicia was really worried about, like how Mary Jane's going to handle the fact they're together now. We got to see that Mary Jane does still care about Spider-Man. Like it was just in a few character beats, that book salvaged a lot of what was going on that I really hate in the current Spider-Man book. So even if we shit on everything else Dark Web, I'm very glad it has given me that book.
Yeah, fair.
Do either of you have any thoughts on any of the 3 books from this week?
No, I don't think I'm gonna read most of the tie-ins. I'm definitely sticking with most of just the Spider-Man and X-Men ones.
Yeah.
But for the Mary Jane and Black Cat, I follow this person on Instagram, Marvel DC All Access. Shout out to them. They rave about Jed McKay's work on Black Cat, saying that Jed McKay should be the only person to write Black Cat. And I did see some panels from that issue. Are you okay, Keegan, if I talked about like what I saw in those panels? MJ has powers now. She's like,
oh yeah,
Yeah,
right?
that was wild.
I don't know what that's about, but that's definitely something I'm gonna have to check out. I'm very interested
So
in that one.
so she's got powers, and it looks like they're the jackpot powers, which a couple years ago there was like a fake out where it was implied that she was going to be jackpot, and then it wasn't. It was another character.
Hmm.
So she doesn't get to decide what power she has each time. She has to like roll the slots, and so we see her with a few different power sets throughout the issue because every time she wants to activate her powers, like it's luck of the draw. So like at one point it's like she turns into sludge, and it's completely useless in the issue. So it has a lot of potential.
She turns into pudding. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
my bad.
They
Bad. You're right.
explicitly call it pudding like 4 times.
Fair.
Interesting.
So that would be my pitch to anyone watching who has heard me shit on everything Dark Web so far. Basically, check out Mary Jane and Black Cat. I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
As much as I love the Miss Marvel character, I love Kamala Khan. I don't know why that book exists. That book was It was
like
a literal nothing.
if
Right.
that's what kind of bummed me out is I was just like, why are we doing this book? Because
Right.
she's interning for Oscorp, but Oscorp is barely involved anyways. So like, who cares?
Yeah. And then the Gold Goblin miniseries, I enjoyed the first issue, but like Keegan has said, the second issue it makes it very confusing, and it feels like it has no connection. And if anything is going, anyone that's just reading the checklist of books is going to be really really confused by it. Like I feel like
That's
it not
literally what I
only
wanted to check. So I was like, let me see what's on here. Like, what other stuff are we reading? And there is another Miss Marvel one, but everything else is pretty standard Spider-Man and X-Men. So I'll
and
definitely be checking those.
it's really interesting. I don't know if you heard us talk about this. I think it was last week or the week before. Uh, Zeb has given a couple interviews where they really went out of their way that if you just read the first the like Dark Web prologue issue and the Dark Web finale issue, that none of the tie-ins are supposed to overlap at all. So if you were just a Venom guy, you could read just the Venom books and it would make sense, or you could read just the Spider-Man book and it would make sense. But instead, it just makes them all feel like they don't matter. Like none of this has felt consequential. Like I feel like it's all treading water until the finale issue where they're actually going to resolve everything the prologue issue set up. I don't know.
Right.
I am not loving this event.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's feeling like each of these tie-in series is just going to drop them all in limbo, and at the end they're all going to team up and defeat whatever, and then they're all going to
Right.
go separate ways. And I don't want that.
Right.
Yeah, it is so far a very unsatisfying thing. But because we're talking about an event we hate, you guys want to talk about some news about an event that hopefully will be way better?
I would love to.
Let's get into
All
it.
right, let's talk about Fall of X. Related but big pieces of news on Fall of X this week. First off, the book Invincible Iron Man is being written by Jerry Dugan. Somehow, I did not piece that together. That, of course, Dugan writing Iron Man meant it was going to cross over with X-Men very quickly, because we live in an era where if a writer is writing two books for the same company, they are going to cross over eventually. We saw it with Superman and Nightwing earlier this year. We saw it with
We saw it
Doom
with
Venom or
Donnie.
something.
Yeah, Donnie Cates with Lauren Holt.
Donnie just did it. Every it's a thing. I feel like it's almost like a prestige thing. Like once a writer like has two high prestige ongoings, they feel the need to like build an event around it. And I get it. It makes sense. I think this is a really cool news story. So, Stark Industries is pursuing a new venture, the extermination of mutants. New mutant hunting sentinels upgraded with Stark technology will emerge and make their first moves against mutant kind in the pages of Jerry Dugan and Juan Frigeri's current run of Invincible Iron Man. Last week's debut issue saw Tony Stark hitting rock bottom after losing everything, including his own company. Fei Long, the mutant hating industrialist from Dugan's X-Men, is now in control of Stark Unlimited's incredible resources and plans to use them in Orcus's vicious war against mutants. And then we got some concept art of the Stark Sentinel, which I am so glad. When I saw the headline, I thought it was going to be another Avengers: The Initiative, where it was going to be Tony leading the charge against the mutants. I'm so glad it's not. That he's going to be on the same team as the mutants.
Yeah, I was worried at first when I saw that too, because I was like, how is he gonna go through like all this Judgment Day and then be like, yeah, let's build some Sentinels?
Right, exactly what I was thinking. But even then, I just don't trust any Stark armor or Stark involvement at all. So, regardless if he's on their side, can I actually trust him?
Yeah, I agree.
We are gonna see the first like sign of Stark Sentinels in this year's Free Comic Book Day issue, the Avengers / X-Men of the year. So apparently they just slap Avengers / X-Men on them all now, even though really it's Iron Man / X-Men. But anyways, the Free Comic Book Day book this year is going to be mostly that story by Dugan, and then it'll be a short backup in the back that's going to be Hickman's new project. So should be a really cool Free Comic Book Day issue. And we did get a second piece of information that'll tie into what Ken was just saying about not being able to trust Tony. If you don't trust Tony, good news. You can trust Emma Frost, hopefully. Let me pull up the article. But we found out that in Iron Man 5, and this story dropped literally one day after the first story. I thought that was an interesting move. But fresh off revealing its March 2023 solicitations, Marvel is now showing off some of what the publisher is planning for April as well, with a look at the cover of April's Invincible Iron Man number 5. And you can see it on screen, but for the audio listeners, it is the Invincible Iron Man with Iron Man crossed out, Emma Frost on the cover, and she is holding a bloodied Iron Man helmet and says, "Step aside, darling." Um, and there's been multiple references now to a wedding between Emma and Tony.
Which I thought Iron Man and Hellcat were dating, or did that finish?
I will be honest, I have not read all of Cantwell's Iron Man. That was one when I was a lapsed fan when it started, and out of all the things I caught up on, that was not one. I'm pretty sure it ended with her like moving to San Francisco and them going their
Oh,
separate ways, though. So I don't think they're still together.
okay, that makes sense.
I still have a feeling that the marriage is probably more practical than actually romantic, but
Right.
it'll be interesting to see. Uh, it'll be interesting to see how Cyclops reacts, considering we just found out that every time he gets revived, he wants Emma there, not Jean.
Yeah.
So, but I'm always down for Tony versus Cyclops. Like that, those conversations will be fun as hell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna be interesting to watch go down.
So Fall of X is completely a different event than what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Exactly.
Like, I feel like
genuinely
this.
thought it was gonna be like a Xavier led event. I thought it was gonna be something Fall of Xavier, not to be too literal on the title, but Fall
No,
of
he
Xavier.
literally you're on it. Keegan literally a couple weeks ago said that was his prediction.
That was my
what the
bet
X
too. I
referenced.
was like, X is not X-Men, it's
It's
Xavier.
Xavier. I feel like we've had like a led event for Magneto, Mystique, and Xavier's just sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for his own event. But
Yeah.
well,
No,
maybe
my direct called shot was that Fall of X is going to happen and that they were going to announce Rise of M and bring Magneto back to life for his own event where he takes over Krakoa.
Which
Yep.
would have been fantastic.
I'm into that.
I don't dislike anything about this announcement, I don't think. Like, it's definitely taking me time to process because it's so different than what I pictured when I heard the name of the event.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't had a straight the X-Men versus Sentinels fight in a while. There is an extent to which that feels a little basic. Like when you look at what the X crossovers have been so far, that basically since we came to Krakoa, we had the giant X of Swords duel with Avalon. We had the Hellfire Gala. We had Inferno. We had Judgment Day, where they fought a literal god.
Yeah,
We've
they
got
killed a god.
We've got Sins of Sinister, where they have to reset a timeline again, and then I feel like there is a lowering of the stakes implied here, at least, of
Right.
like
It's very much back to basics, but I feel like it's Phalong, it's Orcus. There's something they haven't revealed yet, or something we're gonna find out that's gonna turn the tables 100%.
well, and now that we're getting this news on it, and the fact it follows so quickly on Sins of Sinister, I think this is going to be a setup event. I think whatever they're going to be announcing for either next fall or like early 2024 is going to be the next massive X crossover. I think, in my mind at least, the scale of this event shrunk from like I think we all had really big aspirations for what Fall of X
Oh
meant,
yeah.
the title. Like,
There are
oh
theories of it being like the fall of Krakoa to the fall of,
yeah,
just the X-Men in general.
I think all of those options are out the window now. Like I think we've
Yeah.
definitely learned that for sure this is something smaller, but maybe not. We don't really know.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for it. I gotta be honest, I can't get super like invested in it anyways, because Sins of Sinister might be the most excited I've ever been for an event. So I'm like, yeah, I'll think about that in a few months. Let me enjoy this
The
thing
best
that's
event
written
of
before
2023
me.
already.
Yeah. Like, you give me my 3 favorite X writers, like all writing an event about my favorite villain. Like it's
Yep.
fine. You can do whatever event you want after that. Like I'm gonna have my baby.
Right.
Yeah.
I have this. Do whatever you gotta do.
We have been mourning the loss of New Mutants the last couple weeks, and then we had said, "Oh, I'm sure we'll get some news soon," and we literally got news this week. So a month after, no, 2 months, because next week we get the last issue of this volume of New Mutants. In March, the same creative team, Charlie Jane Anders and Enid Balam, are launching a 5-issue miniseries of New Mutants Lethal Legion, which will pit Escapade and New Mutants against a mysterious new group of supervillains. I'll give you after her introduction in Marvel Voices Pride, 2022 #1. Marvel's new Transmutant Escapade starred in her very own New Mutant storyline by Anders and Alberto Albuquerque. Starting with #31, Escapade arrived on Krakoa and battled the Human alongside her best friend Morgan and their flying turtle Hibbert, as well as Wolfsbane, Cerebella, and Leo. Now, Anders will propel Escapade in the 5-issue miniseries New Mutants Lethal Legion. Launches March 8th. And who is behind the Lethal Legion? Has Krakoa's youngest class finally met its match? Everything leads to Fall of X. So, whatever this story is going to be, and they talk in here that it deals with themes around coming of age, dealing with trauma, making mistakes. But it's going to tie into Fall of X. So, everything starting in April, which makes sense because that's going to be after Sins of Sinister finally wraps, is all going to be building to Fall of X. Called Shot. After Fall of X is when we're going to get a new volume. This is like a stopgap to get us to whatever is going to relaunch in the fall as the real next New Mutants run.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I really like Escapade.
I like Escapade. I think I like this whole arc. Keegan, you mentioned it in the last episode. The art is just so not for me.
Yeah.
It's just so it's a little bit too cartoony for my taste.
It's so interesting.
And I don't know if it's the same artist for this mini. I hope it's not.
I'm glad that you are with me on the art because, like, I feel like I am an island alone and not liking the art sometimes. But
no, for me, the story can be great, but if the art is just, it's like I'm not vibing with it. I feel like it's a chore to read. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that concept. I definitely I need an art to be there.
Visually, I need to be into it.
I have dropped entire books because I just don't get jiggy with the art. Like,
I will say this cover in the article looks very different than the art that we got. So I'm wondering. I could have been wrong. This could be a new artist, which power to him.
That would be nice for me.
For Legion, I'm a little bit. I hope there's an explanation as to why Shadow King is on here, because I feel like Vito Ayala did that whole work with Farouk and kind of, I guess rehabilitated him. He became a whole new person by the end of that arc, if I remember right.
I agree. That would be really, really fucked up if his like redemption is gone. I think because they talk about like dealing with trauma, dealing with your past. I think all of the villains on there are like memories or are that past trauma. I don't think they're the actual villains of the story. I hope.
Right. Especially with Demember there, and it looks like Danny's as well, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. That is what I'm going to go with until it comes out. I'm going to believe that's the case.
Right. I mean, they did it with Maddie and Vita's, whole thing she did with Maddie.
I hadn't thought about that. If they undo Vita's work in two books,
that'd be tragic. Because I'm still, as much as Dark Web is, I love Madeline. I think they just completely threw out Vita's whole work.
I agree. That was going into Dark Web. That was my biggest issue. And then now new issues have come up that I also, but I agree. I think it's really frustrating. And we had Joe on a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you watched that one or not. And he really came at it from like you need to be allowed to have failed redemptions. Like characters need to be allowed to fail. And I could see that. But I think my issue was they showed us her fail before Vita's story was even over because we got it in the free comic book day issue. We saw where things were headed, and that I don't know. That made it harder for me to buy into the redemption in the first place if that was where it was headed. So
right.
It's an interesting conversation for sure, though. I think we're at the end here.
At the next week.
The next week, we have that final issue of New Mutants. We get to see how Charlie Jane Anders can stick the landing for now. We've got Exterminators #4, which I'm so excited to talk about. We have Dark Web X-Men number 2, which I'm less excited to talk about, but it is. And then there'll also be Amazing Spider-Man 16 and Venom 14 there that we'll read for you. I don't know how much we'll talk about. And Extreme X-Men number 2, which at least has that really kick-ass Storm costume.
Yeah, that's what it's got.
I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for being here, Ken.
Thank you guys.
What can you plug? What do you have
My
to plug?
TikTok is Uncanny Ken. You can go follow that. I post all kinds of X-Men and non-X-Men stuff as well.
He does amazing recaps. He's been doing. How many of the Christmas specials have you talked about? At least a couple, right?
I've done every single day. I've done a story.
Yeah, he's covered a different.
Now that I'm like much better, I've had like I compiled a list while I was like fever dreaming in my bed. I was like, yeah, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. So keep an eye out for some more stuff going out.
You've been on a legit roll. Like I said, he is the X-Men expert in the crossover comics like universe or group. So if there's ever anything we can't answer, hit him up. He knows it all.
Well, I mean, you know.
Keegan, did you have anything you want to pitch or sell or?
That's about it for me.
Okay, I'm going to say it now so that I'm a dirty rat liar. If it's not, I have the next week off. We are going to have our merch page up. So if you've always dreamed of an Omega Mutants t-shirt, it will be on sale by the time you see our next episode, or you can come on and call me a dirty rat liar. Make sure you like us, review us on all the places, follow us, and if nothing else, tell a friend who you think might enjoy the show. I'm that nerdy Papa Bear on all the socials. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Until next time, remember, it's either babies or zombies. If you do both, it's jumping the shark.